Today's sponsor is Warlock Sanctum Games, professional GMs for hire. Please check them out in the description below. This is the Awkward GM Corbin, and in my latest Chronicles of Darkness session, I wanted to kill my players. Well, I mean their characters. So I got to work and I built a pack of badass werewolves to tear through my party. My normal campaigns aren't really that deadly. Sometimes I'll run a one-shot in Call of Cthulhu or the Paranoia RPG, but those games are built to have higher player body counts, in my opinion, anyway. So this was in my Chronicles of Boston game, so we had a bunch of players with different characters from the different game lines. We had Agatha the gun-toting Sin Eater, John the psychic vampire, Jason the sniper vampire, Milo the mild-mannered vampire, Mauve the hammer-wielding changeling, and Mellum the shotgun-wielding mortal. Yes, I said mortal. For those that didn't watch my Werewolf the Forsaken video, I just want to emphasize that mortals can turn into creatures called wolf-blooded when they see a werewolf. This is very likely to happen, especially when you're going up against 4 of them. I broke up the 4 NPCs into 4 different roles that I wanted them to do during the course of the game. The first was an ambush werewolf that would be able to stay hidden and attack the players when they weren't expecting it. It would also get bonuses to attack surprised opponents. The second was a support character that would be able to boost the damage of the enemies during the combat. The third was able to ignore any armor the players were wearing. And the fourth was the fighter of the group, with more health and more damage output in general combat than the other 3. I was debating adding 2 more enemies, but with 6 players already, I knew combat was going to last a lot longer than I wanted it to. Combat is about pacing. You don't want it to last so long that the players get bored, or too short that the players feel like the combat was trivial. It doesn't make sense just to throw monsters to kill the players in one turn, unless the players are going to get up eventually. 99% of what I prepared for this session was just the NPC stat blocks for combat. I had no story or any background. A couple hours before session, I brainstormed and I came up with the idea that one of the vampire leaders wanted the players to track down a group of vampires who went missing. Elegant in its simplicity. The changeling player Mauve used the Relentless Pursuit contract to locate the missing vampires. The ability doesn't tell them if the targets are alive or dead, but points them in the right direction. They tracked down the missing vampires to an abandoned movie theater. Jason, with his rifle, went up to the projection room, and everyone else stayed at the concession stand, and were ambushed by 2 werewolves in their near-wolf or Urshel forms. These were the fighter and supporter characters. The fighter wolf took a huge chunk out of Agatha, but Agatha was able to reduce the damage down, though she was definitely worried that the next hit would kill her. John managed to grapple the support werewolf, but not before it gave out a great howl that strengthened its allies. All the other players took a few pot shots or swings with a hammer, but didn't do much damage to the werewolves. And then the inevitable occurred. Jason in the projector room saw another werewolf coming in for a flanking maneuver. He took an aimed shot, almost killing the werewolf in one hit. It's at this point I realized my challenge wasn't so much a challenge as more of a speed bump that they were going to go 100 over. John managed to get an exceptional success on his grappled werewolf, allowing him to restrain it enough that Agatha came by with her SMG and turned the werewolf into meat chunks with a killing blow. Since killing blows can sometimes cause breaking points, I had Agatha roll her crisis point, which she failed, causing her geist to become unleashed and destroy the concession stand in poltergeist fashion. Mauve, meanwhile, activated an ability that turned them into a berserker with higher damage and armor. This was a good idea and locked down the fighting werewolf pretty well. Mellum at this point took out their shotgun and blew off the head of the werewolf fighting Mauve. In the theater, the remaining werewolf went into its half-man, half-wolf form, Garu form, and healed all of its damage. That didn't matter so much because Jason was able to kill the werewolf in one shot. For those who want to know how a vampire killed a werewolf in one shot, I will be putting his build at the end of the video. But I had an ace up my sleeve. The werewolf that Jason killed was not the ambusher. From behind, Jason heard a voice yell out, "You killed Gregory, you bastard!" as the ambusher werewolf came rushing towards him. Now, at the time, I thought this was clever. The werewolf had been following Jason for quite a while, and it had managed to get a lot of successes on its stealth checks. However, I forgot that at the beginning of the session, Jason said that he was going to obfuscate his character as he was going up to the projector room. Even though the werewolf was following Jason for a few turns now, it didn't know where Jason was in the room, and the gunshots going off didn't matter because Obfuscate 3's ability, Cloak of Night, states that attacks by the user do not remove the Obfuscate ability, so Jason was effectively invisible in that room. I rolled to see if the werewolf could pick out where Jason was via context clues, but it failed, and so it got a -5 penalty to attack someone it couldn't see. They missed their attack, and Jason threw them into the theater through the wall. In homage to the Wolverine Fastball special, Milo threw Mauve at the remaining werewolf, causing it to be pummeled to oblivion. To top it all off, the mortal passed all of their checks and did not become a wolf-blooded. In the end, the werewolves did not kill any players or even get them close to it. Agatha took the most points of damage with 6 lethal, and everyone else took bashing damage. That being said, I think combat went really well. A lot of the players were engaged. I think only a couple of players weren't engaged in the combat, and that's just probably because there were so many players and so many turns happening that it was a long time before a player got to their turn again. There were 2 things I forgot during combat. One was that werewolves have defense against firearms in all of their forms except for their human form. I forgot that, and that meant that my werewolves were more likely to be hurt. Second, 2 of my werewolves had abilities that allowed them to dismantle firearms and complicated machinery. That would have been really good against, say, a rifle or a submachine gun. Lastly, I'd like to emphasize that in Chronicles of Darkness, the more characters you have on one side, the more likely your side is going to win. So in this case, 6 players versus 4 NPCs, it was very likely from the beginning that the NPCs wouldn't win. As I promised, I had talked to Jason's player, and he allowed me to go over what he did to get his character to be so good. On the attack that killed the werewolf in one hit, Jason was throwing 14 dice with the 9 again quality and wrote. He got 16 successes and +4 bonus to damage for a total of 20 damage. He had the professional training merit at 5 dots. When you're at 2 dots, you gain 9 again rolls on a specific skill. At 5 dots, you can spend 1 willpower to gain the rote quality on that roll. Also had Marksmanship 1, which increased his aim bonus from +3 to the combined total of his composure plus firearms, which was 8. Also, he had the Devotion Quicken Sight, which for 1 Vitae allowed him to get his full aim bonus, so he got the +8 immediately. So in total, for 1 willpower and 1 Vitae, he was able to take his Dexterity plus Firearms of 8, add an extra 8 on top of it, give it the 9 again quality, and give it the rote quality, which means he is re-rolling all failures. Disclaimer, Jason's player had been collecting a lot of XP to be able to do this. A starter character won't be able to get anywhere close to this sort of firepower. It would require a lot of experience points. If you like this video, please check out my other videos about the Chronicles of Darkness rules system. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, please donate to my Ko-fi account. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.